I was driving home from my lawyer's office in Denver, my hands trembling slightly on the steering wheel. Not from fear, but from the overwhelming mix of grief and gratitude washing over me. My sister Carol had passed away 3 weeks ago after her 2-year battle with pancreatic cancer, and I'd just learned that she'd left me something extraordinary. Her mountain lodge in Breckenridge, along with 3 vacation rental cottages on the property. The lawyer estimated the total value at around $2.5 million. $2.5 million. I'd spent 38 years as a financial advisor before retiring at 60, helping other people manage their wealth, plan their futures, secure their legacies, but I'd never imagined having this kind of asset myself. My late husband Tom and I had lived comfortably, but modestly. We'd put our son Brandon through college, helped with his wedding, and I had my retirement savings and our paid-off house in Littleton. That had always been enough. But now this. Carol's final gift to me. I pulled into my driveway just after 3 in the afternoon, still processing everything. Brandon's truck was parked in front, which surprised me. He usually worked until 5 at the software company downtown. Maybe he'd gotten off early. I felt a surge of happiness. This would be perfect. I could share the news with him and Melissa, his wife. We could celebrate Carol's memory together, maybe even plan a trip up to see the property. I gathered my purse and the folder of documents the lawyer had given me, but as I approached my front door, I heard voices coming from inside. The living room window was cracked open, despite the October chill. Brandon must have wanted fresh air. I was about to call out when I heard Melissa's voice, sharp and urgent. "We need to move fast, Brandon. Your aunt's lawyer is going to contact your mom any day now." I froze, my hand on the doorknob. I know, Brandon said. I could hear the stress in his voice. "But we have to be careful. Mom worked in finance her whole career. She's not stupid." "That's why we use the Xanax," Melissa replied. "I can adjust the dosage so it causes confusion without being obvious. Your mom's been stressed since the funeral. Everyone knows she hasn't been sleeping well. It'll seem natural if she starts seeming a little out of it. Forgetful." My heart stopped. Actually stopped for a second. Then it started pounding so hard I thought they might hear it through the door. "Once she's taking it regularly," Melissa continued, "we suggest she needs help managing things. Power of attorney would be the smart move. Then we can handle the property sale ourselves. $2.5 million, Brandon. Split between maintenance and profit. Those rental cottages pull in probably $200,000 a year. But if we liquidate now, we get the full amount. We can finally buy the house in Cherry Hills, pay off your business debt, actually live the life we deserve." "What if she doesn't want to sell?" Brandon's voice was quieter now. "She won't have a choice once we have POA. We'll tell her it's too much responsibility, too much maintenance, too far away. She's 62, a widow, grieving. Everyone will understand why she'd need her son to help make difficult decisions." I stood there on my own porch, listening to my only child plot to drug me, to steal my sister's legacy, to rob me of my autonomy, my dignity, my mind. The folder slipped from my hands, papers scattered across the porch. I scrambled to gather them up, my hands shaking now for entirely different reasons. I couldn't go in there. Not yet. Not like this. I backed away from the door, walked quickly to my car, and sat in the driver's seat with the engine off. My mind was racing. 38 years of advising clients, of seeing family disputes over money, of watching inheritances tear people apart, and I'd always thought my family was different. Brandon was different. But I'd been wrong. I drove. I don't even remember where, just around the neighborhood, trying to process what I'd heard. Finally, I parked at the King Soopers lot and just sat there, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. "Mom, where are you? Your car's not here." I stared at the message. He'd been in my house, waiting for me, planning to start his scheme. I typed back, "Had errands to run after the lawyer. Be home in an hour. Kay, Melissa and I stopped by. We'll come back for dinner?" "Sure, honey." "See you then." Honey. I'd called my potential poisoner honey. I pressed my forehead against the steering wheel and let myself feel it. The betrayal, the shock, the absolute shattering of everything I'd believed about my son. But underneath all that, something else began to stir. Something cold and analytical. The part of me that had spent 4 decades managing risk, planning strategies, protecting clients' interests. They didn't know I knew. That was my advantage. I dried my eyes, straightened up, and started the car. I had work to do. My first call was to my friend Joyce, who'd retired from the Denver Police Department 5 years ago but still did private investigation work. We met at a coffee shop on Broadway. "Nancy, you look terrible," she said, sliding into the booth across from me. "What's wrong?" I told her everything. Her expression went from concerned to angry to coldly professional in the space of 5 minutes. "You need to document everything," she said. "Colorado is a 2-party consent state for recording, but in your own home, you have the right to record. I can set you up with some cameras. Nothing fancy, just enough to catch them in the act. They're coming back for dinner tonight." Joyce checked her watch. "I can be at your place in 30 minutes. We'll put cameras in the kitchen, living room, and your bedroom. If Melissa tries to slip you something, we'll have it on video." "What about admissibility in court?" "Let me worry about that. Right now, we need to know what we're dealing with. Once we have evidence of their plan, we can decide how to proceed." "But Nancy," she leaned forward, her voice gentle, "you need to prepare yourself. If they're really planning this, your son is going to face serious consequences. Conspiracy to commit fraud, possibly attempted assault, depending on what they try to do. Are you ready for that?" I thought about Brandon as a little boy, learning to ride his bike in front of our old house on Elm Street. Brandon graduating high school, college, getting married. Brandon holding my hand at Tom's funeral 3 years ago, telling me he'd always be there for me. "I don't have a choice," I said. "If I let this go, if I pretend I don't know, I'm letting them victimize me. I'm letting them think this is okay. And what happens next time? What happens when I actually do need help, and they've already established a pattern of controlling me?" Joyce nodded. "Let's go." By the time Brandon and Melissa arrived at 6:30, my house was wired. Joyce had installed 3 tiny cameras and assured me they were undetectable. She'd also set up a recording app on my phone that would capture audio. Everything was uploaded to a secure cloud server in real time. I greeted them at the door with a smile that felt like broken glass in my mouth. "Hi, sweetheart," I hugged Brandon, trying not to think about what I'd heard. "Hi, Melissa." "Hey, Mom, you okay? You look tired." "Just a long day," I said. "Lots of paperwork at the lawyer's office." I watched Melissa's eyes sharpen. "The lawyer? What for?" Here it was, the moment to decide. I could play dumb, wait for them to show their hand, or I could dangle the bait. "It was about Aunt Carol's estate," I said, setting out plates at the kitchen table. "She left me something, but there are some complications with the property transfer." "Property?" Brandon sat down, trying to sound casual. "What kind of property?" "Her mountain place in Breckenridge, the lodge and the rental cottages. Do you remember visiting when you were little?" "Vaguely," he said. "Lie. We'd gone there every summer until he was 15. He loved that place." Melissa put her hand on Brandon's arm. "That sounds like a lot of responsibility, Nancy. Managing rental properties from here, especially in the mountains. The maintenance alone must be overwhelming." "It is a bit daunting," I admitted. This was true, at least. The lawyer said the properties generate about $200,000 a year in rental income after expenses, but I'm not sure I want to deal with property management at my age. I watched them exchange a look. Quick, meaningful. "You should consider selling," Brandon said. "Real estate market's good right now. You could invest the money, live off the returns without the headache." "Maybe," I said. "I want to think about it. Carol loved that place. It feels wrong to just sell it immediately." "Mom, Carol's gone." Brandon's voice was gentle, patient, the voice he'd use with a confused elderly parent. "She'd want you to do what's best for you, not hold on to something out of sentiment." I felt cold. He was already starting, already treating me like I needed guidance, needed him to make the sensible decisions. "You're probably right," I said. "I just need some time to process everything. It's been a hard few weeks." "Of course," Melissa said, standing up. "Actually, speaking of processing things, I brought you something." She pulled a prescription bottle from her purse. "Xanax, just a low dose. I noticed you seemed really anxious at the funeral, and I thought it might help you sleep." There it was, my own daughter-in-law, a licensed pharmacist, handing me the weapon they planned to use against me. "That's so thoughtful," I said, taking the bottle. My hand didn't shake. "I have been having trouble sleeping." Just take one at night, Melissa said. It'll help with the anxiety too. You've been through a lot. Thank you, honey. After they left, I stood in my kitchen, staring at the pill bottle. I opened it, shook one into my palm. It looked so innocent, so helpful. I dropped it back in the bottle and took a photo of the label with my phone, then sealed the bottle in a plastic bag. Joyce arrived 20 minutes later. I've got everything, I said. The pills, the conversation on camera, all of it. We sat in my living room and watched the footage on her laptop. Hearing it again, seeing their faces, the casual way they discussed drugging me, it was somehow worse than the first time. This is enough for conspiracy, Joyce said. But if you want a stronger case, you need to let them proceed a bit further. Document more conversations, more concrete actions toward their plan. You want me to pretend to take the pills? No. Don't actually take them, but act like you are. Get a little forgetful, a little confused. Give them confidence. They'll get sloppy, reveal more of their plan. The more evidence we have, the stronger your case will be. How long? A few weeks. Maybe a month. A month of pretending to be slowly losing my competence. A month of letting my son think he was successfully drugging and manipulating his own mother. I'll do it, I said. The next few weeks were the worst of my life. Worse than losing Tom. Worse than watching Carol waste away. Because this was active, ongoing betrayal, and I had to smile through it. I started taking the Xanax every night, hiding the pills instead. I began acting slightly confused, forgetting where I put my keys. Mixing up dates. Nothing dramatic, just enough to be noticeable. Brandon started calling more often, stopping by unannounced, asking if I needed help with anything. 2 weeks in, he suggested I let him look at my finances. Just to make sure everything's organized, Mom. You've got the inheritance coming, Carol's property to manage. It would give me peace of mind to know you've got everything in order. That makes sense, I said, playing the confused widow perfectly. I have been feeling a little overwhelmed. Why don't I come over this weekend? We can go through your accounts together. Joyce had everything ready. Before Brandon arrived, we documented every account balance, every investment, every asset. We set up monitoring on all my financial accounts so we'd know if he tried to access anything. When Brandon came over that Saturday, I watched him photograph my bank statements, my investment accounts, my retirement funds. He thought I didn't notice, too focused on the papers in front of me, nodding along as he explained things I'd understood for 40 years. Mom, you've got almost $800,000 in various accounts, he said, plus the house, which is worth probably $450. And now Carol's property at $2.5 million. You're actually pretty wealthy. I guess I am, I said vaguely. Your father and I always saved carefully. The thing is, managing all this, it's a lot of responsibility. And with the property in Breckenridge, the rental management, the taxes, it's going to be complicated. Have you thought about setting up power of attorney? Just so someone can help you handle things if you need it? There it was. The end game. Power of attorney? I repeated slowly, as if I'd never heard the term before, as if I hadn't drafted hundreds of them for clients. It just means I could help you with financial decisions, Brandon explained. Sign paperwork if you're not feeling up to it, handle the property sale, manage the investments. You'd still be in control. I'd just be able to help. I don't know, I said. I need to think about it. I saw frustration flash across his face before he smoothed it away. Of course, Mom. No pressure, just something to consider. After he left, I sat down with Joyce and her lawyer contact, Marcus Chen, who specialized in elder abuse cases. He's pushing for POA faster than I expected, Marcus said, reviewing our recordings. That suggests he's got debt problems or time pressure. We should move soon. I want to give him one more chance, I said. One more opportunity to stop this. Nancy, Marcus said gently, he's not going to stop. He's too far in. I know, but I need to know I tried. I need to know I gave him every possible out. So I called a family meeting. Brandon, Melissa, and me, sitting in my living room with cameras rolling and my phone recording in my pocket. I wanted to talk to you both about something, I said. I've been thinking about Breckenridge, about the property, about everything. They leaned forward, eager. I've decided I want to keep it, I said. Carol loved that place. It was our childhood, our parents' legacy. I'm going to learn to manage it myself. It'll give me something to focus on, something meaningful. Brandon's face fell. Mom, that's not realistic. You can't manage 4 properties from here. You don't have the experience. I'll hire a property manager. The rental income can cover their fee. But you've been so confused lately, Melissa interjected. Just yesterday you told me you forgot to pay your electric bill. I found it. It was in my purse. But you forgot it was there, she pressed. Nancy, we're worried about you. You're not yourself since Carol died. The anxiety, the forgetfulness. Maybe you need more help than you realize. I don't think I do. Mom, Brandon's voice was harder now. You're not thinking clearly. That's exactly why we're concerned. You can't see that you need help. And you think you should make decisions for me? I think someone needs to. Yes. Someone like you? With power of attorney? The room went silent. How did you, Brandon started? How did I know you've been planning to drug me, confuse me, and steal my inheritance? I finished. Because I heard you, Brandon. That first day, when I came home from the lawyer's office, you and Melissa were in my living room, planning the whole thing. Melissa stood up. Nancy, you're confused. The medication. I never took the medication, I said. Not one pill. Every dose went down the drain. But I recorded every conversation, every suggestion you made. Every time you tried to make me doubt myself. I have it all. And I've shared it with the police. Brandon's face went white. Mom, wait. Let me explain. Explain what? That you were going to incapacitate your own mother to steal money? That you saw me as nothing but an obstacle between you and Carol's property? We weren't going to hurt you! Brandon stood up now, too. It was just going to be low doses, just enough to make you seem like you needed help. We were desperate, Mom. I owe $200,000 to investors. The company's failing. We're about to lose everything. So you decided to take mine instead? We were going to give it back. Once the company was profitable, we'd return every penny. How? I asked coldly. Once the property's sold, once the money's spent, how exactly were you going to return it? And what was I supposed to do in the meantime? Live in ignorance? Let you control every aspect of my life? Mom, please. Brandon was crying now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We just didn't know what else to do. You could have asked me for help, I said. You could have told me you were in trouble. You could have treated me like a human being instead of an obstacle. Would you have given us $2 million? Melissa demanded. No, I said. I would have helped you with the business debt. I would have worked with you on a plan. I would have done what parents do, help my child while teaching him to be responsible. But I wouldn't have handed you enough money to avoid all consequences of bad decisions. There was a knock at the door. Joyce came in, followed by 2 uniformed police officers. Nancy, Joyce said. Are you ready? I looked at my son. At the man I'd raised, taught, loved, at the stranger who'd been willing to drug and rob me. Yes, I said. I'm ready. Brandon was arrested that evening. Melissa the following morning. The charges were conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted felony menacing, and exploitation of an at-risk adult. Despite my protests that I wasn't at risk, the DA explained that their intent to incapacitate me qualified. The trial happened 3 months later. I sat in the courtroom and watched footage of my son and daughter-in-law plotting against me. I listened to the prosecutor explain how they'd planned to systematically undermine my autonomy and steal my assets. I watched Brandon cry on the stand, apologizing, begging for mercy. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Brandon received 2 years probation, mandatory counseling, and community service. Melissa lost her pharmacy license and received a suspended sentence. The judge was harsh but acknowledged they hadn't actually succeeded in their plan because of my intervention. That was 6 months ago. I'm standing now at the edge of Mirror Lake, looking up at Carol's lodge. My lodge. The mountain air is crisp and clean, and I can hear the waterfall that runs behind the property. The rental cottages are booked solid through the summer season. The property manager I hired is excellent, a young woman named Sarah who treats the place like it's her own. I drove up here alone yesterday, to spend a week away from Denver, away from the mess, away from the sadness. I've been walking the trails. Carol and I hiked as children, swimming in the cold lake water, sitting on the porch at sunset. Tomorrow, someone else is arriving. My grandson, Brandon's 9-year-old son, Michael. He doesn't understand why his parents aren't together anymore, why Daddy has to go to counseling and do community service. But he knows his grandma, Carol, left me something special, and he's excited to see it. I've set up a trust fund for him, a portion of the rental income going into an account he'll access when he turns 25. By then, it should be enough for college, a house down payment, a start in life. Maybe enough to teach him that money is a tool, not a treasure. That family is built on trust, not transactions. Brandon's lawyer has asked me 3 times if I'd consider dropping the charges, allowing him to petition for early termination of probation. I've said no each time. Not out of spite, but because he needs to learn this lesson. He needs to understand that actions have consequences, that he can't manipulate his way out of responsibility. He still calls sometimes. Awkward, painful conversations where he apologizes again and tells me he's in therapy, he's learning, he's changed. I don't know if I believe him. I don't know if I ever will, but I do know this. Carol gave me more than property when she left me this place. She gave me the chance to protect myself, to stand up for my own dignity, to refuse to be a victim. She gave me the resources to ensure that even if I lost my son, I wouldn't lose myself. The sunset over the mountains is painting the sky orange and pink and purple. I can almost hear Carol's laugh, the way she'd throw her head back and cackle at something ridiculous. She'd have found the whole situation darkly funny, I think. Her careful, organized financial advisor's sister having to set a trap for her own child. She'd have been proud of me for doing it, though. Carol never tolerated anyone taking advantage of family. I raise my wine glass to the sunset, to Carol, to the complicated mess of love and betrayal and justice. Thank you, sis, I say out loud, for everything. Tomorrow, Michael arrives, and I'll teach him to fish in Mirror Lake, just like Carol taught me 50 years ago. I'll show him the trails, the waterfall, the secret spot where you can see 4 mountain peaks at once. I'll tell him stories about his great-aunt Carol, about the strength and independence she showed even at the end. And maybe, if I'm lucky, I'll help him understand that integrity matters more than money, that family is about respect and trust, and that the real inheritance isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in lessons learned, boundaries held, and the courage to demand better from the people you love, even when it breaks your heart.